Today in the Texas Tribune Weekend Insider. Since 2006, thousands have been killed in the Chihuahua Mexico drug wars. Many displaced Mexicans are seeking refuge in El Paso. Through their common tragedies, they have come together to form a group called Mexicans in Exile. Julian Aguilar explains how the group says they are not illegal or undocumented, but refugees in a land they never wanted to live in. But first, Ramsey looks at how the Tea Party movement may have influenced Governor Perry over the past 3 years. From his book to the 2010 governor's race and his 2012 run for president.
Well, what's going on is that there have been an increase in the amount of people that are seeking asylum from Chihuahua specifically on the West Texas border across from El Paso. And the group has become so large that they're actually filing paperwork to become a bona fide nonprofit, which they hope turns into an eventual movement where they go around the state and they give lectures and tours and raise awareness about the situation that brought these people over here, which is pretty much the same story that's been plaguing Mexico for the last 6-7 years. Just violence is just getting out of hand. These folks, they're called Mexicanos en Exilio, Mexicans in exile. But what's going on is that these folks are just trying to let the U.S. and state lawmakers know the situation, that something has to be done. You know, these aren't your wealthy Mexicans that can afford, you know, $500,000 for an investment visa. These are, you know, factory workers. They own bakeries. They're from rural parts of Juarez and Chihuahua. They're really, right now, it's a grassroots effort to raise awareness and to hopefully, you know, bang on this drum loud enough to where people turn around and say, look, this is bad. A lot of people know the situation's bad. A lot of people on the border, but they're hoping, you know, that it grows to where both sides, you know, finally pay some attention, more attention, I should say. This is happening right across the border, and, you know, people are turning a blind eye to it, whether it's because of trade policies, whether it's because of, you know, diplomatic relations, who knows, but they're saying something has to be done.
3 years ago, they had this rally at Austin City Hall, and Rick Perry was there, and, you know, it's sort of at the beginning of the Tea Party rallies. It was on tax day, and Perry went out in front of this crowd and has since said that those were the days when he really got a sense that the Tea Party was a real thing and that there was a real movement here. It's also when he made, you know, what may or may not have been his succession remarks, where he said some version of, you know, Texas can always leave the Union, and he spent at least part of the presidential campaign explaining his way out of that one. So, but it's where you first kind of heard Perry articulate the ideas that later showed up in his book, Fed Up, that animated his race for governor in 2010, and that became kind of the basis of his race for president when he was talking about substance. The question now is whether this is still a movement. And, you know, a lot of what the Tea Party rallies were talking about 3 years ago kind of has been subsumed into or co-opted by the Republican Party, but it's still a strong sentiment in that party. So how does Perry answer it now as we go into a legislative session? He's not on the ballot this year, but he can talk to other people who are on the ballot and see if they're in line with his ideas as he decides who to help and who not to help. And then we're going into a legislative session in about 9 months, and presumably he'll take some of those ideas forward.